My name is Emma. I am 32 years old. I am married. My husband's name is Clark. He is 34 years old. We had been married for 4 years. Clark is a good man. I loved him very much. In the mornings, Clark made breakfast for me. Then I would prepare his lunch for his work. Many people said that Clark and I were a perfect couple. I believed them. I also had a very close friend. Her name was Nancy. Nancy was a beautiful woman. Our friendship was very strong. We told each other everything. We shared many secrets. I trusted her completely. Everything felt good. Clark and I were ready to buy a new house. My best friend Nancy helped me choose furniture. Clark also liked Nancy very much. I was happy that my husband and Nancy were good friends, but soon I began to notice small things. Nancy's laugh changed when Clark was near her. Clark sometimes looked at Nancy for too long. I did not think much about them. I ignored these little signs. One evening, we had a movie night at our house. Nancy stayed with us. We drank wine and laughed until it was very late. I felt very tired that night, so I went to bed early. I left Clark and Nancy still in the living room. The next morning, I woke up. Clark had already gone to work. Nancy was sitting in the kitchen. I did not think anything was wrong at that time. Days passed. Nancy began to visit our home more often. Sometimes I was not even there. She would call and say she wanted to surprise me. Other times she said she would help Clark with the garden. She also brought food for us. I was happy that she cared so much. But slowly, Clark began to change. He became quiet and distant from me. He started to come home late from work. He said he was very busy at his office. I tried to ask him what was wrong, but he said nothing. He said, "I am just tired." I felt worried. One night, Clark left his phone on the table. He went to take a shower. A new message came. It said, "Can't wait to see you again." I froze. My heart began to beat fast. I looked at the name of the sender. It was just one letter, N. N could be for Nancy. It could also be for someone else. Maybe it was a joke from a friend. I did not want to think about Clark and Nancy together. That weekend, I decided to find the truth. I told Clark I was visiting my parents for the day. I packed a small bag, but I did not go to my parents' house. I went to a cafe. Clark had told me he would meet a client there. I parked my car and waited behind a tree. I hoped I was wrong. I hoped to see only Clark and a work client. But then I saw them. Clark walked into the cafe. Nancy was already sitting at the table. They saw each other and smiled. They sat very close. Nancy put her hand on Clark's arm. Clark looked at her with loving eyes. These were the same eyes he used to have only for me. My heart broke. I could not breathe. I could not move. I could not cry. I just stood there watching them. I did not want them to see me. So I went home. I sat on the sofa, feeling lost. That night, Clark came home late again. I heard his car. I quickly went to bed and pretended to be asleep. I heard him walk into the bedroom. He thought I was asleep. Then I heard his voice. He was talking on his phone. He said, "I miss you, Nancy. My eyes opened wide. The next morning, I called Nancy and invited her to the house. She came quickly. We sat down in the living room. I looked at my best friend and said, "Nancy, do you love Clark?" Her face changed. Her skin became pale. Nancy began to speak. But I stopped her. I said, "Please don't lie to me, Nancy. I saw you both. I saw you together yesterday." Nancy's eyes filled with tears. She said, "Emma, I am so sorry. It just happened. I didn't mean for this to happen, but I love him." My heart stopped. My best friend, my husband, all gone. Just then, the front door opened. Clark walked into the house. He stopped when he saw me and Nancy sitting there. He knew something was wrong. Clark said, "I can explain," but there was nothing left to explain. I pointed my hand towards Nancy. I said, "You already did explain." Clark looked down at the floor. Nancy began to cry loudly. I knew my marriage was over. 1 week later, Clark moved out of our house. He told me he needed time. I did not try to stop him. I was too sad to fight. Nancy stopped calling me. She sent no messages, but I saw her. I saw pictures of Clark and Nancy together online. They looked so happy. I felt hurt. I spent many nights crying. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I stopped going to my work as a fashion designer. One morning, I looked in the mirror. My eyes were red. My face was pale. I knew I could not stay sad forever. I began to design new clothes. I worked hard every day. Months passed. People started to notice my work. My business grew fast. I felt happy again. One afternoon, I was at a big fashion event. Suddenly, I saw him. It was Clark. He looked old and tired. Clark saw me too. He walked towards me. His eyes were full of sadness. "Emma," he said. I said, "Hello, Clark." Clark looked down. He said, "Nancy left me. She found someone else. I made a big mistake. I am sorry. I still love you." I listened. Once this would have made me happy, but now his words felt empty. I remembered the pain he caused. I said, "You broke my heart, Clark, but that broken heart helped me. It made me stronger than I ever was before." Clark said, "You deserve better." I smiled and said, "Yes, I do." I knew my value now. I was happy without him. I turned to leave. Clark watched me go. I did not look back. I had moved on. After that day, I never saw Clark again. He went his own way, and I went mine. As for Nancy, I heard that she moved to a different city. I do not know where she is now, and I do not try to find out. I do not feel anger or hate towards Nancy anymore. Those feelings only hurt me, not her. I worked hard to let them go. A relationship that is built on lies will never last for a long time. It might seem strong for a while, but in the end, it will always break. Clark and Nancy's relationship was built on a lie, a betrayal of my trust. It was not true love, and it broke apart just as I knew it would. My story is not about getting revenge on Clark or Nancy. My story is about survival. It is about how a person can go through great pain and still come out strong. I used to think a home was just a house with my husband and me inside it. I thought it was about two people building a life together. But a true home is the peace you find inside your heart. A strong woman can always build her life again. If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.